I'm Dr. Ray Middleton. I help people by delivering great training. Here's an example of an episode from one of my training courses. This pre-treatment approach has 5 principles of care. Now I will explain and explore in more depth the 4th principle of care, which is promoting safety. The pre-treatment principle of promoting safety has 2 parts to it: harm reduction and crisis intervention. Harm reduction is a philosophy that tries to minimize risk over longer periods of time through attempts to gradually increase people's safety. By comparison, crisis intervention would tend to be more active and proactive and more directive. It may be more assertive in its approach over a shorter period of time. And it takes place, as the name suggests, during an acute time of crisis. A time of crisis can also be an opportunity for people to consider change. Sometimes in a crisis we may need to act quickly, for example, calling the emergency services, or to assertively and quickly get someone into a safer space to avoid immediate serious risks. It could be risks of violence from someone they're living with, for example. If someone is in immediate significant danger, assertively helping someone get to a safer space, even temporarily, may reduce their likelihood of harm and provide some stability. Once some relative stability and safety is achieved, positive change can then develop. If we're overwhelmed with fear of threats, but we're in an unstable environment, we're not really in a place to sort of think about progressing next steps. It's the safety and stability we need reasonably to allow our anxiety to come down enough to be able to think about moving on in our journey through life. So Jay Levy encourages staff to embrace crisis because the opportunity for positive change can often be discovered within each crisis situation. In contrast to crisis intervention, a harm reduction approach seeks to increase safety and reduce harms over a longer time frame. For example, common harm reduction interventions might be helping someone access clean needles if they're using intravenous drugs, or offering a blanket, sleeping bag or a tent for someone sleeping outside to reduce the risks from the elements and the weather. Such measures not only increase safety, but at the same time, we're working on establishing a relationship of trust by being practically helpful. Maybe more work can be done later on once someone positively engages with the harm reduction offers, and then that relationship starts to build, and then we can work on some more ambitious goals. So promoting safety is at the forefront of a pre-treatment approach, whether it's the more subtle long-term harm reduction techniques or sometimes the more assertive crisis intervention skills and techniques. Both can be used. On a personal level, we may be inclined more towards either taking a more active approach to our interventions, or we may prefer a more passive, slower harm reduction approach in terms of our personal style of relating to people. But the actual intervention we take should be based on our assessment of the safety and the risk concerns at the time, and not necessarily based around our own tendency to be more proactive or more passive in our engagement approach, relationship building techniques. It's more about what are the needs of the situation at the moment. You can be aware of your own tendencies, but the decision about how assertive or not to be needs to be based on what we think the risks are. If we reflect on our own experiences, we can think about the things we do that reduce the risks of harm for someone we're working with. There's lots of things you do. Harm reduction strategies can start right from the first meeting with someone, depending on what our role is. An example of harm reduction strategy is, for example, if you're able to persuade someone to move from rough sleeping into a housing environment. That may or may not be your role, but it's an example about the risks drastically reduce once you are in a house, as it were, rather than being out in the elements or vulnerable to being attacked as someone without a home in the streets. It drastically reduces the risks. However, a change of environment that reduces the risks to someone often involves them taking on new responsibilities, doesn't it? They may now need to focus on new skills, such as being able to pay the rent and generate some kind of income, getting along with the neighbours in this property, taking care of the room that they're in, being able to be aware of the basic safety of themselves and other people around them. And they may need to develop a supportive network of people around them to adapt and find some equilibrium in this new environment. Often folk in the pre-contemplative stage, who also may have mental and physical health problems combined with substance misuse problems, can find these basic tasks very challenging. However, we can view these challenges as opportunities to work on some of these issues in order to achieve goals, including maintaining housing. We can help people to think about how to manage their own risks in life, as each new environment we transition into usually carries some new challenges and risks, as well as opportunities and rewards. I hope you found that helpful. For more information about the training I can offer, email me at ray.middleton@ladderforlife.com or sign up for one of my free trauma-informed courses by clicking the link in the comments. Like and subscribe for more helpful videos, or post a question in the comments and I'll reply.